So back again and in continuation with human capital formation. In today's lesson or class, I'm going to talk about the growth of education sector in India. In how many of the schools, say the primary and the middle schools, the secondary schools, colleges, universities, how many schools have come up, how many universities have come up in numbers, and also we'll also talk about students, how many students have increased. And again, the period would be the planning period, that means 1950-51, and the latest data that I have for you is 2015-2016. So this is a table, and in the table so we can observe, these are the observations when you which when you see this, you will come to know that it indicates the growth of education sector in India, the education sector. So expansion of the general education, as we see in this. So the table shows the expansion of the general education during the period 1950-51 and 2015-16. There has been the table, if you see the table, then we know that there has been a great progress in the field of education. The number of educational institutions providing elementary education. So elementary education is primary plus middle school education, written out there. So elementary education has increased roughly by 5 times, and the number of students has increased tenfold. In 1951, we find that hardly say around 18% of the total population was literate. In 2011, the percentage increase of literates are around 74%. Now let's take the elementary education. Elementary education covers students from class 1 to 8, that is primary and middle. And what is the age group? Yeah, 6 years to 14 years. So the number of primary and middle schools has increased. Initially in 1950-51, their number was around 2.23 lakh, and 2015-16 it has increased to 12.70 lakh. So however, we find that the low percentage of admission of children in primary classes, it points out to the educational backwardness in the country. And basically it is poverty is a principal cause of educational backwardness. So sometimes they feel they have nothing to feed on. What are they going to send their children to school for? And even if the children go to school, where do they get? What will be the end result? What will they be doing? So that is why. Then you see that secondary and senior secondary education. You notice that in 1950-51, there were around 7.4 thousand secondary and senior secondary level schools with 15 lakh students. In 2015-16, the number of secondary and senior secondary schools rose from 2.52 lakh, and the number of students went up to 3.2 crore. And we also find that in around 1987-88, Navodaya Vidyalaya were established to impart modern education of good standard to talented students. Important thing was of the rural areas. These schools provided boarding facilities to the students. And presently there are 565 Navodaya schools. Then central government has established Kendriya Vidyalaya, that is central schools. And this is primarily for the benefit of the children of the transferable employees of the central government, which move from state to state. So a number of central schools is now around 1,128, as against the number of students in these schools is about 12.6 lakhs. Three Kendriya Vidyalayas, one at Kathmandu, one at Moscow, another at Tehran, also functioning. So that is important to note. Then regarding higher education, after independence, higher education has shown a convincing growth over time. So there are around 800 universities. Learn it as 800. Actually, it's written as 799, one short of 800 universities providing higher education in the country. Of these, there are 44 central universities, and there are also 40 deemed to be universities. They are on their way to be called universities. The total number of colleges for general education in the country is 39,071. The number of students in all universities is around 346 lakh in 2015-16. And it is the UGC, that is the University Grants Commission, that regulates and guides higher education in India. So, higher education also includes general education as well as technical, managerial, medical and other forms of professional education. And this has expanded over time. But there are some areas of concern out here. What are they? That generally we find that higher education is largely confined to general education. So it's only 20% of the people go for professional education, and also that educated youth doesn't see many possibilities of self-employment, and that has been remedied by vocationalization of secondary education. In February 1988, the central government launched a plan to vocationalize secondary education. So financial assistance is given to those schools who start vocational courses at higher secondary, that is +2 level. And then also efforts are there to draw employment plans for those who successfully complete vocational courses. Permission in 2012-13 was granted to nearly 11,000 schools in the country to start vocational courses. And now, what are vocational courses? Vocational courses have been introduced in the areas of agriculture, trade and commerce, engineering, technology, health and medicines. And also that is regarding vocationalization. But talking about the concerns in higher education, that is not so much in technical, medical and agricultural areas. Yes, there has something been done here. So let's take up this point also. So number of institutions imparting technical and professional education has increased over the years. In 51, there were 43 diploma level polytechnical institutions, and their number has risen to around 1,914. There are 3,400 recognized engineering colleges offering degree level courses in different disciplines. The admission capacity of these courses is to at least say 15 lakh students per year. So presently there are about 289 medical colleges in the country with an still it's, considering India, the size of India, it's quite less. The number of dental colleges is 282. So many research centers have also been set up in the country. For example, Indian Institute of Technology, Agricultural Research Institute, then Indian Statistical Institute, then you have National Physical Laboratory, National Chemical Laboratory, and you also have Institute of Economic Growth and many others. Many agricultural universities have also been set up in the country. With a view to spreading technical education in rural areas, community polytechnics have been set up. and presently there are around 617 community polytechnics that are there. And the admission capacity of degree and diploma level institutions is 6.53 lakh and 3.54 lakh respectively. So India can do a lot in this area. There has been a growth of education sector in India. Both the institutions have increased and the children studying there, or the people who are taking admissions, they have increased. So